Rasnaz here. Yeah, basically I just thought I'd start jumping on, making some short videos and talking about what's happening with my Rise of Kingdoms account. Um, Sorry if the video quality is horrible because I think I'm recording this on a potato that I bought over 10 years ago, but we'll just see how we go. Yeah, pretty much. So I just joined 1981 before the last KvK, so I've just done one KvK here, and pretty much it didn't turn out as was planned, I think. We actually got a really good matchmaking from Lilith, I would say. It looked really fair. I guess I could bring up the what the matchup was, if anyone watching this wasn't involved. But yeah, pretty much I think we had 4 camps pretty even. I was in fire camp with 1981. There was water camp 1718, wind camp 1875, and earth camp had 1316. And yeah, there were some campmates, but sorry, I can't list them all, but that's the main kingdoms. And then yeah, pretty much the matchup was looking good, but then it turned out pretty quickly that 1316 basically, I would say, didn't want to fight a fair looking KvK, so they said they're going to farm. It's hard to tell their reasons. Apparently they wanted to dodge 1093, 2489, and maybe they would have thought it was an easy KvK, but for this KvK they didn't want to fight. So pretty much it turned out that the other 3 kingdoms, the other 3 camps, decided we're going to have a free-for-all KvK in Kingsland, which I guess was about as good as could have been come up with. So from that sense it was pretty boring up until Kingsland, and then yeah, pretty much I think we just came into Kingsland looking pretty fair. I mean, Earth Camp, there was a bit of drama. They still took their zone 6 and they wanted to, asking for a lot of conditions, but overall the other camps just didn't agree, and but they took zone 6 and it was too much effort to try and push them out basically, so they just stayed in zone 6 at that time, and the other 3 camps went into Kingsland. And it was actually reasonably interesting coming into Kingsland, I would say. We're gonna have a quick look at the map. Yeah, I mean, this is basically frozen at how it was roughly at the end of Kingsland. We've deleted some territory from one of our alliances up here, I think. But the 3 camps, at the end of what ended up happening, ended up pretty even. Yeah, I would say in terms of what happened in Kingsland, fire camp, we probably came in the strongest, took the most territory, and water camp and wind camp ended up fighting each other more at the start, so we claimed a bit more territory. And then as it went to sort of day 1, day 2, we started getting pushed back a little bit because we had the most territory, I would say. Wind camp and water camp both started focusing on us. So we let some territory go on the water side and the wind side. And then, yeah, from there it was sort of, seemed to be that whoever pushes out, takes the most territory, is going to get focused the most. So we started, eventually decided to go more on the defensive on the water side and focus more on wind, who was pushing us over to about the middle of the Zig area, and we managed to reclaim some territory during day 3. But I would say kind of the issue with what started happening was 1316 started pushing in from their zone 6 here, which I didn't take a lot of screenshots, but I could probably show a bit on the map. Yeah, I think I've got a screenshot of day 2 somewhere here. So I think during day 2, 1316 started to take some territory, was burning some of the wind and fire flags, and just generally being a nuisance. I mean, bad enough that they're just ruining the KvK by farming, then they're also just being petty and trying to also ruin things otherwise. And yeah, I mean, I would say there was a bit of discussion that really if the other 3 camps drain ourselves 100% in Kingsland, then it looks like 1316 might try and come in and win the KvK in the end. So I think basically in day 2 we had a ceasefire for a period to try and push them out, and then they pushed their way back in day 3, and the original agreement was, I mean, just to clarify, I'm not in leadership at all in this kingdom, so just based on what I heard, there was a ceasefire plan for 24 hours to push 1316 out, but then during that ceasefire time there ended up being some negotiations, it seems, and they decided to end the KvK based on the current stats at the time. So at that time it was decided that Fire Camp had, I think, slightly better stats, so we got the win, and then Wind Camp with 1875 got second star, and then the 1718 got the first cap of the Zig. But overall, the fighting was actually quite fun in Kingsland. It was a bit of a different dynamic, having free-for-all aspect, but I think some players overall finding it difficult to adapt to just not pushing forward full power all the time, because pretty much in the free-for-all, if you push on both sides hard, then both the enemies end up pushing back on you as well. So that was a bit of a different dynamic, and personally I was hoping to have a bit of a longer Kingsland, but pretty happy with the result in the end anyway, even though the KvK was a little bit short on the whole. Now, what else do I want to talk about? In terms of 1981, yeah, I was very happy with the performance. My first KvK here. The wall leading was good. It was nice having wall leads from actually within the KvK, pretty much 24/7, having someone filling in. Yeah, doing their best to organise things, despite a bit of stress and lack of sleep. I think they were keeping a good atmosphere, so that was good. Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much a shame that I guess the other reason that the kingdoms just negotiated to end the KvK was just because 1316 looked like they're just going to keep being a nuisance over here, so we just couldn't really have a proper free-for-all. That's what I assume anyway. Yeah, otherwise, not too much else to talk about. I guess we could have a quick look at the stats. Yeah, I think this was pretty much the stats that I saw on one of these KvK dashboards. I think on DKP, on this one at least, we're not quite on the top, but we've got slightly higher KP. It's pretty close with Wind. I think they had a bit higher deads, so I mean, I guess that's probably not a good thing for winning the KvK, but it's a good thing for DKP. But either way, yeah, a solid amount of kills and deads overall, although personally I still had a bit more I could have done. Guess I can find my stats. So that's me there. I think number 81 in the KvK, got about 1.7 billion KP, super low deads, so that's probably my bad. I got some farms, so I was mostly focusing on filling with the farms at that at that point in the KvK. So we got a few farms. I think I got a few million deads on these ones. I've got some other farms around here. Yeah, I should name them all the same, but I probably got one other farm as well, but about 1.8 on this one. Yeah, so I've got a good few farms. I was just focusing on filling those before getting the deads on my main, but the fight ended up finishing pretty suddenly. Yeah, I mean, other than that, looking forward to the next KvK with 1981. I'll probably try and do a review of my account at some point. Yeah, I mean, probably the only other thing I could talk about is there was a recent mail that just came out about update with Wedge 2. I mean, I won't claim to be an expert on it, but it looks like they're changing it so that Wedge 2 and Wedge 1 will just be merged together, so that all your wedge armaments for skill damage will be upgraded to have the 12% skill damage, and the conversion stones are going to get used to convert the special and rare inscriptions from wedge 1 to wedge 2 still, but you can mix and match the wedge 1 and wedge 2 inscriptions, it looks like. So I think that'll be a lot better in the long run, even though it's probably going to frustrate some people that just spend a lot of money converting. I still think they get some value, but whether they would have made the same choice, well, that could be frustrating. But I think the good thing is it looks like there should be more stones available free to play. I mean, somewhere here it talks about being able to get conversion stones from the dispatch, which will be, I mean, it'll probably be less stones than what people are hoping, because I assume Lilith's going to set it up so that a free to play could get maybe 3 or 4 marches converted, and then maybe a low spender, mid spender get to like 5 marches, 6 marches, and then probably still a bit more spend to convert 7 marches over. So I mean, that's sort of the normal rate that they usually go at. But it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. But I think that will make it less pressure to convert over the Delta armaments coming up in a few months. So overall happy with that change, but I guess we'll have to see the details. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll leave it there for this one and see if I can start making some more videos.